Today, we're going to walk down memory lane, but also set our gaze on the future. There's some big news and some exciting changes coming to the podcast. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Welcome to episode 85. Hey everyone, my name is Steve Cullum, and welcome to this very special episode of the Student Ministry Podcast. As many of you know, we've been around as a podcast since February of 2016. So at the time of this recording, that's been 6.5 years. And over that time, we have had 85 episodes. This is episode 85 right now, with over 70 guests. And I've gotten to connect with so many youth workers who are in the trenches, and some of them are my ministry mentors. I've been able to connect with a group of ministry-focused podcasters. I've been able to collaborate on several occasions with other podcasters, which is awesome. I never thought I'd be doing that. Especially around conferences and conventions, which is really cool to connect with you all who listen to the podcast and tune in and everything, and then getting to meet you in person, which is really, really great. I've also been able to interview some of the bigger names in the student ministry world, people like Greg Steer, Josh Griffin, the Skit Guys. People that I never thought I would be speaking to ever. I even got to speak with Stephen Curtis Chapman's daughter about her ministry one time, and I was just so amazed that I get to do this, and so I'm so grateful for those opportunities. And then we started having sponsors jump in near the beginning of the podcast as well, and got the word out about their resources. So over the last 6.5 years, I've been incredibly blessed. I just want to say that from the very beginning. This thing that started out as a huge experiment has been a tremendous blessing to me. I knew I wanted to have these conversations with other youth workers and other student ministry volunteers, student ministry professionals, and I thought maybe others would want to listen in on the conversation too. And lo and behold, you did. You did want to listen, and you keep showing up, and you keep sharing it with others in student ministry. And so I just want to say at the very beginning of today's episode that I am incredibly grateful for all of you. Thank you so much. And as I said just a moment ago, we're so grateful for our sponsors as well. So let's just take a moment to thank the sponsor of this episode of the podcast. G-Shades is a youth ministry curriculum and teaching strategy focused on helping students see everyday life situations through the lens of the gospel. G-Shades has options to fit everyone as well, with 3 plans to choose from. This curriculum gives you the resources that you need to do what you do better. Do you need message outlines, a discussion guide, and a game? That's just $20 a month. If you're looking for a higher production value, including bumper videos, Instagram devotionals, and parent guides, that's $30 a month. And if you want an affordable, engaging video curriculum, G-Shades has you covered for only $40 a month. You will not find a better youth ministry video curriculum at that price point anywhere. G-Shades really sets itself apart by looking at every life situation that a student goes through the lens of the gospel and infusing Jesus on everything that the students do. If you want to learn more about G-Shades and its creator, Mike Haynes, be sure to check out episodes 32 and 55. We are so grateful for G-Shades, and we know that you will not be disappointed. So head over to gshades.org, that's GSHADES.org, to download Season 4 of G-Shades curriculum, and use the promo code CONNECTION at checkout to receive an extra $20 off your order. G-Shades, seeing life through the lens of the gospel. Thank you, G-Shades, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. You can find the link to G-Shades in the podcast show notes. So right now, you're probably wondering, what in the world is making this such a special episode, Steve? Like, why are you making such a big deal about this? Well, please know that we are not planning to end the podcast anytime soon. As I've said, it's been a huge blessing to me and so many others, and I'm not planning on shutting that down anytime soon. In fact, what I would like to do is actually take it to the next level. So I've been doing a lot of different research on podcasts recently, even getting some coaching help from some podcast coaches, and in order to make this podcast even better for you and many of the student ministry workers who have yet to tune in to the podcast. So starting today, we are rebranding. And many of you are wondering, what does that mean? Well, back in 2016, there weren't very many ministry-focused podcasts, especially student ministry-focused podcasts. And so when I realized that the name and the URL were available for the Student Ministry Podcast, I jumped on it. And it was very fitting to call it the Student Ministry Podcast. I mean, that's what it was. But now with so many other great student ministry-focused podcasts on the scene, I'm left wondering what sets this podcast apart from the others. Why would you listen to this podcast in your limited time? Why would you want to share it with others in student ministry? And I don't want to come across as pretentious or anything like that by acting like this is the only focused podcast on this topic. But on top of all that, I have a desire for this to be more than a podcast now. So have I kept you in suspense long enough? All right, here we go. Today, the podcast and the bigger vision will be known as Student Ministry Connection. So why? Now you're probably wondering, okay, cool name, but why? So when I think of the word connection, I think of what happens when two or more items or people make contact. And I immediately think of what Scripture says in Ecclesiastes 4:12, that though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves, and a cord of three strands is not quickly broken. And connection also immediately puts this image of a train station in my head. So while train stations aren't necessarily a modern thing that we use a lot, I still really enjoy them. I don't know about you. And what happens at a train station is that tracks connect with each other as they go here and there. But also people connect with each other. Sometimes you're just passing through, and other times you can sit or walk around a little bit. That's what I want student ministry connection to be. The original vision has not changed. It was a place for me to connect with others in student ministry, hear their stories, and discuss what they're learning, and then share that with others, you, the podcast audience. And that, like I said, is not changed. This is still the same vision, but what I'd like to do is actually take that further and move it forward. So, Student Ministry Connection is a place for you to network with others. Many of us feel like we are on our own in ministry, but we need to be reminded that our tribe is so much bigger. Way too many youth workers are quitting, and for many of them, they would have stuck it out longer if they didn't feel so alone. I'm not saying this podcast will solve all of those problems. That would be crazy to think that. But what I do want to do is make this a part of the solution. I want you to know me, and I want you to know the guests that I bring on the podcast. I want you to feel like you are sitting in the room with me as we talk about ministry. I want you to know the youth workers that we bring on as guests or as we highlight in other ways. And I want you to all be known eventually as well. I want us to work toward you being known. Why? Because we need each other. The Student Ministry Connection is also a place to learn from each other. I love hearing what God has taught others. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things that I get to do with this podcast is learn from others. And I think you do as well. I mean, that's why you're here, because you enjoy hearing what other people have to say about ministry. You don't just come for the conversation, but I think you come to grow. In the beginning, I did one episode a month because that's a schedule I felt like I could keep. I would actually like to increase that to at least 2 episodes a month moving forward. So if you've been paying attention, I've actually been putting out more episodes in the last 6 months in order to kind of test the waters with that a bit. And on top of learning from others in ministry, I'd like to start sharing some of the things that I've learned in my over 20 years of student ministry experience as well. So while the interview episodes will continue to be 30 to 60 minutes long, depending on how long we talk with that guest, the solo episodes will probably be shorter, maybe around the 15, 20-minute range, so that we can kind of get right in there and get to the point of what I'm going to be sharing with you in those episodes. So that's Student Ministry Connection moving forward, a place for you to network with others, but also a place for us to learn from each other. If God continues to bless this, it will continue to grow and evolve. I know it. A few of the things that you'll see soon will be a new website and a refreshed newsletter with this new vision. We also have some other ideas that we're praying about. In fact, if you have ideas, please let me know, either on our soon-to-be rebranded social media accounts, email, or just connect with me directly on social media. I'm at Steve Cullum, so that's SteveCullum on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. But no matter what, unless God tells me otherwise, I'm still here. Because while I have many interests in my life, I am incredibly passionate about 2 things that I would say are 2 of the most important things. And that's 1, ministering to students and families, and 2, connecting with others who also love doing that. And I think that's you, our podcast listeners. And so thank you so much for also having those same passions. So if you serve in student ministry and want to connect with others and have a desire to grow, Student Ministry Connection is for you. And if you know others who serve in student ministry and want to connect with others and have a desire to grow, please share this with them and let them know about Student Ministry Connection. Where is God going to take this? I have no idea. I never imagined that we would be here today when I started this over 6 years ago. But I do know that it's been such a huge blessing to me and to others. And so I can't help but keep doing this and keep moving it forward. For those of you that have been around for all 85 episodes, first of all, wow, I can't believe that is the case, but I know that there are a handful of you that have probably been here from the very beginning, so thank you so much. And for those of you that have joined along the way, thank you as well. This little experiment is about to step into some new areas, and I am so glad that you are here with me on this ride. As far as logistics go, if you've already subscribed to the podcast on your favorite podcast app or service, the only thing that will change soon will be the artwork and the name of the podcast. So you should be seeing those changes very soon. But if you have any issues, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. Rebranding a podcast can be a pain. I am learning that, especially after over 6 years under one name. So please bear with us as we change everything over the next several weeks and months. Also, be sure to stay connected with me on social media and the new website, studentministryconnection.com, where you will find the links to subscribe, to follow us on social media, to sign up for our newsletter, and more over time that we are able to add to that website, and so much more that will fall under the umbrella of Student Ministry Connection. All of those links are going to be also in our show notes for this episode, and you can check them out there. One more reminder to make sure you check out G-Shades. Thank you so much, G-Shades, for not only sponsoring this episode of the podcast, but for being a long-time sponsor of the podcast. I'm so grateful for Mike and his whole team of what he's doing over there at G-Shades. So make sure you check out gshades.org and use the promo code CONNECTION for an extra $20 off your order. Thank you so much, Mike and the whole G-Shades team, for sponsoring this episode of Student Ministry Connection. And thank you all once again for allowing me to do this for 6.5 years as the Student Ministry Podcast. I'm so excited to see what God does through this moving forward as Student Ministry Connection, both with the podcast, the newsletters, and so many other ways that we're going to be able to connect with each other moving forward. And I'm really, really excited, especially for those of you that have been going through ministry and have not felt connected. I hope to create a place for you to feel connected, to feel like you eventually are seen and heard, because God sees you and hears you, and we need to see and hear each other as well. So thank you so much for being here and listening. Whether you've been here from the very beginning or this is the first episode you've ever listened to, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for the ride that is ahead for Student Ministry Connection and all that God is going to do through it in order to bless you all as student ministry workers. So thank you again for listening. Be sure to get connected, and may God bless your ministry.